Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of many Zelda theories leading up to the release of Tears of the Kingdom, and obviously many Zelda theories coming after the release. In this video, we will be discussing the possible uses of the tears we see in Tears of the Kingdom, their connection to the return of the sages, time travel, the Zonai, the restoration of the Master Sword, and more. This isn't spoilers or confirmed yet, hopefully. It is all based on details given to us up until this point, and what I was able to connect, as well as discussions with friends. Please let us know in the comments below if you agree with any of our theories here, or what theories do you have about the tears? I would love to know, and we will be sure to pick out our favorites and discuss them on the next episode of our Hylian Gamescast. If you like videos like this, please subscribe and give the video a like. In some of the ads or trailers for Tears of the Kingdom, we first seen these symbols carved on the wall during this scene, and in other promotional images. I'm sure we are all already familiar, so I'll quickly summarize, and I'll have timestamps on screen for each section. We have 7 of them at the beginning, in the shape of a circle around this, at the time, mysterious character. I won't mention who he is, or any spoilers, but at the time, a lot of people took these 7 identical symbols and connected them to 7 sages, or in some games, maidens. Different games have called them different things. However, most people never paid too much attention to the extra 2 tear carvings we see at the end of the trailer, with the first character now pictured with someone who resembles Zelda, with the tears possibly looking like they're fusing, which I'll get to later. Then, in what Nintendo called the final trailer, we would finally be introduced to the characters in the carvings, as what many are referring to as these Zonai. And yes, it is now leaked and confirmed who these characters are, or at least one of them, but I won't be spoiling it. Those examining the trailer would also notice items resembling the tear carvings, this time with certain characters, such as this scene with Riju, daughter of champion 𝗵𝗺, Sidon, younger brother of champion 𝗵𝗲, Tolan, son of 𝗵𝗵, who we don't believe is related to the champion Revali, but is a Rito warrior who stepped up in his place after his death. Despite Yunobo, the grandson of champion Daruk, not officially appearing in the trailer, we do see a quick glimpse of the weapon usually associated with Yunobo or Daruk, though it could possibly be another Goron, in a similar way that we see Tolan instead of 𝗵𝗵, and Nintendo are simply keeping the character a surprise. The term tear has been used before, with Twilight Princess having you use the Vessel of Light to collect the Tears of Light, which are solid physical tear-shaped objects that represent the spirits of light. When all are collected, they revive the spirits and return the world to normal by removing the twilight from the area. In Spirit Tracks, the Tower of Spirits contains 3 Tears of Light that must be collected to power up Link's sword, similar to powering up the Master Sword with the Goddess Flame in Skyward Sword, or sort of in Wind Waker, where the Master Sword has been weakened due to the death of 2 sages by the hands of Ganondorf, and Link must awaken 2 new sages to replace them, and help restore the Master Sword to its fully powered state. In Skyward Sword, we see the tears, now each represented by different colors. We use the Vessel of Light to collect these sacred tears in the Silent Realm to restore Link's spirit and gain an item that is required for Link to reach the sacred flames of the Golden Goddesses to power up the Master Sword and later gain the Triforce itself. These comparisons will be important for later, especially with restoring the Master Sword and Link. Now let's move to the sages. Just as we see the tears in different colors in Skyward Sword, we now see them in different colors throughout this trailer for Tears of the Kingdom, with each color representing its respective race, similar to the medallions in Ocarina of Time. When awakening a new sage in Ocarina of Time, each new sage are able to bless Link with different medallions that represent them and empower Link. Originally, in Ocarina of Time, the medallions would each unlock various abilities. This was changed shortly before the game released, as we can see with various demos and beta builds of the game. For example, the Fire Medallion could be used on its own, or for an ability similar to Din's Fire, or equipped with the arrows to create the Fire Arrows. We can even see this item menu from shortly before the game's release, where the medallions aren't found on the usual screen, but instead in place of the different magical arrows and goddess abilities. Which is also why instead of a water droplet that you would expect, the water medallion has the symbol of a snowflake. I believe we will see something similar with the tears in Tears of the Kingdom that we originally did with the medallions in Ocarina of Time, but with other purposes as well. which I'll get to in a moment. You may be thinking, Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild don't have sages, they have champions. And, well, sort of. You see, the purpose of the champions are just to pilot and use the divine beasts, which, for now, we see aren't in Tears of the Kingdom. The divine beasts were made to help destroy Calamity Ganon, and every time seem to have backfired, or just lead to Ganondorf coming back anyways. Since we haven't seen the divine beasts, we can assume Tears of the Kingdom will move away from its huge focus on ancient Sheikah technology, and obviously, the divine beasts. With the champions' only purpose being the best warriors to pilot the divine beasts, we now have no purpose for champions. In fact, I think in interviews, and mentioned in the book for Breath of the Wild, Creating a Champion, we are told by the developers the champions were originally referred to as pilots. Even the Sheikah Slate was called the Conductor because it conducted the divine beasts. However, even before they were called pilots, they were referred to as sages. Yes, sages. We still have concept art for the Gerudo, Rito, Zora, and Goron, but we also have concept art for a Kokiri with a whip and Sheikah with a hookshot. Even a character who may or may not be Link, or possibly meant to be a normal Hylian sage. Very reminiscent of each race of these sages, which in Ocarina of Time give us the medallions. So, without the champions needed, perhaps we will see the return of these sages, who are each strongly associated with their respective temples, as well as used to communicate with the goddesses. So, sort of similar but very different roles than the champions. And, thanks to the trailers and gameplay presentations, the temples are very heavily hinted at to be returning, with these 7 tiers, and yes, I'll get to the other tiers we see here, as well as 2 on Ganondorf. But this perfectly matches with the usual number of sages, Zelda sometimes also being a sage. Perhaps finishing these temples or certain tasks will have the characters be given the tiers, which is why we see them without the tiers, then again with the tiers. Then once they are awakened as a sage, similar to how Wind Waker or Ocarina of Time has us awaken new sages by completing the temples, the older or ancient sages then bless these tiers to the new sages, or these new sages bless them to Link, which would be a mix of the way tiers similarly worked in past games, as mentioned earlier with Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, Phantom Hourglass, and awakening the sages in Wind Waker, or the original use of the medallions in Ocarina of Time, where it powers up and restores either Link, his sword, or both, as well as allowing him to get closer to the goddesses, and in some cases even obtaining the Triforce. We also see something similar in Breath of the Wild, with the ancient Sheikah monks giving the new hero the physical items known as the Spirit Orbs, which possess the spirit of the hero. In the case of Tears of the Kingdom, the ancient sages would bless the new sages, which may sound odd, but the tiers in previous games were also physical items containing non-physical spirits, used to heal or resurrect the light spirit, bless Link, and had other purposes. I have a theory video I'll be making in the future on the Zonai, who they may be, and how the tiers may relate to them, as well as the Master Sword. But for now, we see this mystery character that looks very similar to Princess Zelda, whom I will refer to as Ancient Zelda or Zonai Zelda. Similar to as I mentioned with the new sages, I think Princess Zelda is given her tier by this past or ancient version of herself, or an ancestor, and thanks to a leak from either the Italian voice actor or Spanish voice actor, we know ancestors of certain characters are going to be introduced. I think this is why in the carvings we see the ancient Zelda or Zonai Zelda, and this other Zonai, who we do factually know the name of thanks to translations of other leaks. They both have their own tiers, but they're side by side, not like the others, whether they be the same, fusing, or something else. Either way, we do see our Princess Zelda holding it and looking at it in this scene from the trailer, which I believe she uses to communicate with Link in this other realm, or what most people believe is the past, which is strongly hinted. From her perspective, it may look like this, while in Link's perspective, in his time, it looks like this, with the same bright yellow glow of Zelda's and Hylia's power, as well as the yellow tear. The same color is shining brightly in front of Link, and similar to the goddesses or sages blessing Link and the Master Sword in previous games, this will slowly transform the damaged Master Sword back to its normal state, if not to an even more powerful form. Again, we even have official advertisements like this from Nintendo that mention the Master Sword going through changes. And I think as the Master Sword is healed throughout the game, so will Link's arm, as they were both damaged by the same malice. And when we see the light, Link is holding the Master Sword with the same hand, causing both to slightly heal at the same time. Now, to answer why Ganondorf has his own tier, if these are supposed to belong to the sages. His is red, which you would imagine would be for the Gorons, but I have a couple of possible explanations. We do see no lava coming from Death Mountain, the home of the Fire Temple, where the Goron sage would be expected to be. We see Ganondorf also has a necklace with spots for other tiers, almost like he is on his own quest for the Infinity Stones, like Thanos, which similarly to the tiers restoring Link and the Master Sword. As I mentioned with Zelda and her tier, perhaps Ganondorf also needs them to be restored to his true form, and possibly thanks to the Yiga or someone. This is just speculation, but they could have found his dehydrated body and placed the tier on him, causing him to regain enough power to come back to life in this form. If it is the red tier, it could be why he now has control over Death Mountain with Malice coming out. Or that could simply be a callback to Ganondorf originally being located in Death Mountain, or the caves underground simply being full of malice that would naturally flow through to connect to the tunnels leading to Death Mountain and spewing out of the volcano. I have another theory video on where Ganondorf is located and connecting to the Yiga that I'll be working on soon, so look forward to that. This could also be why we don't fully see the Goron, who may also become the sage, whether it be Yunobo or someone else. I also think we will be seeing the same tiers in the present and the past, as mentioned earlier, thanks to the leak. And like the Zonai or Ancient Zelda, with the tier in the past, giving it to Princess Zelda and using it to communicate with Link in the present. Perhaps the ancient sages do something similar to interact with the sages of the present. I would also love if they were used by the sages when we see them wielding them, like the Fire Sage, whether it be Yunobo or not, could use it not for Daruk's protection as an ability, which Yunobo would already have, as we know from Breath of the Wild and Age of Clams, but it would give him a second ability, like Din's Fire from the original use of the Fire Medallion in Ocarina of Time. Then once we finish that sage's respective temple, they then bless the tiers and sage abilities onto Link, whether it be the red tier being something similar to Din's Fire, the blue tier allowing Link to breathe underwater, or actually, please let us know in the comments below if you agree with any of our theories here, or if you have your own completely different theory. What abilities could you see Link gaining from each of the tiers, if they are used in this way? And if none of this sounds correct, what theories do you have about the tiers? I would love to know, and we will be sure to pick out our favorites and discuss them on the next episode of our Hylian Gamescast. If you like videos like this, please subscribe and give the video a like. Thank you all so much for watching the video, and please, if you made it this far, consider subscribing and commenting below. It really does help us out. Hello everyone, I just want to say thank you for watching the video all the way through. Some of you have been asking, and yes, we still have shirts and other merch available at teespring.com. You can find a link in the description below. If you purchase one and send us a picture wearing it, we will give you a shout out and include your picture during one of our upcoming videos. Thank you to our amazing Patreon supporters, starting off with our royal family, Shadow to Us. On our champion tier, Justin Clark, Monica Spath, SOBERX. In the Sheikah tier, ANDREMOI, Joseph, Natsu, Wrecker1, Rusty Caulfield, Tremel. And in the Kokiri tier, Jean Pinna, Chad Costin, David Guthman, Candy, Disappointment, Gus Calvo, Zane, Lean, Lovable Christie, Mr. Monocled Metroid, and whoever this is only donated to hear Jessie speak my name. Thank you all so much. If any of you would like your name to be featured at the end of any of our videos, or to get a shout out at the beginning of our Zelda podcast, the Hylian Gamescast, and to have any of your topics or questions answered or turned into a full video to be featured here on our channel, along with many other things, please join our Patreon and help support the channel. Thank you all so much. Happy Halloween.